Hi, welcome to Jen's Crafts and Cakes. Today we're going to make some homemade bread. So let's see what we need. So for the homemade bread, we're going to need 2 cups of warm water between 105 and 115 degrees, 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, 1/4 cup of honey or sugar. I'll be using sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of oil, and 4 to 5.5 cups of all-purpose or bread flour. Cups of warm water. We're going to go ahead and put the tablespoon of yeast in the water. And then we will need a pinch of sugar. Now what's going to happen is you have to let it set for 10 minutes, well 5 to 10 minutes. It'll start foaming if your yeast is active. Now I buy the 3 strips of the yeast, and you only need 1 of the squares for a tablespoon. I also buy plenty of yeast and I keep them in the freezer. As long as they're in the freezer, they won't go bad. It's been about 10 minutes with the warm water and the yeast, and this is what your yeast should look like if it's live and active. So we know this is good. We're going to go ahead and pour this into the bowl. Okay. And next we're going to go ahead and add what is left of our sugar that we took a pinch from. We're going to go ahead and add the 2 tablespoons of oil. And we are going to add the salt, which was 2 teaspoons. Then we are going to add 3 cups of flour. So now that we went ahead and added the 3 cups of flour, we're going to go ahead and mix. And so now it's mixing pretty well. We'll go ahead and add another cup. While the mixer is running, you're going to add the flour in. So right now that's 4 cups that we have. So with our 4 cups, it's still a little sticky to touch. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/2 cup more. And again, you're going to have your mixer on when you add the flour. When the dough starts to pull away from the balls, we will be ready to put it on a floured surface. So my dough bunched up in the beaters, so I'm just removing it from the beaters. I like to use wax paper and then add some flour to that surface. You're not going to add a whole bunch, enough flour so you can knead it. You're going to knead for about 5 to 8 minutes. Okay, now we need to go ahead and knead it. The way I knead it is I fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, and just keep folding it over. We're going to do this for 5 to 8 minutes. This way you get the flour into it. And then you will need a bowl that is oiled. because once you're done kneading this, you're going to put it in the bowl. So now that the dough isn't sticky, anymore, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to the oiled bowl. You can turn it over so it gets lightly oiled. Now you're going to find a warm spot. Now you're going to grab some plastic wrap or a dish towel and cover this and find a warm spot and let it rise for about an hour and a half. I do use the plastic wrap or saran wrap. You can turn on your oven and place it on top of your stove or find another warm spot. My laundry room is pretty warm, so I'm going to go ahead and put it there. And it's totally covered, so it's safe. Hour and a half for our dough to rise. So we're going to go ahead and take it out. I have a lightly floured surface. I'm going to take it out and punch it down. Get all the air bubbles out. You're going to make a ball. And depending on the size of your loaf pans, you'll get 2 loaves, 3 loaves. You're going to separate this for how many loaf pans you have. Separate the dough using my hands. This one is a little smaller, so this loaf pan is a little smaller. I won't feel it as much. And I do have a glass one. Also, make sure you grease the pan. Here, make it like a log. And go ahead and put it in your loaf pan. And then you're going to take some wax paper and put it over each loaf. And you're going to let it rise for another 45 minutes to an hour to where it's an inch over the top of the loaf pan in a warm place. Because we need the oven on at 350 to bake the loaves of bread. My oven is on and I placed my loaves to finish rising on the top stove. Okay, so I let my bread rise for an hour on my stove. The stove was set at 350 to heat up so it can bake, but also the heat helped it to rise. So we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for 30 minutes. So it's been 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and check. My smaller loaf might be done. So I have laid foil down on my table, and this is where I will turn the bread onto. Some people say if you knock on it and it's hollow sound, it's done. This one is done. And let me check on the one's not quite done, only because it's in a bigger loaf pan. So I'm going to go ahead and put some butter on this so it can melt and turn nice and brown. You're going to want to cool it before you cut into it. So I went ahead and checked on the other loaf. It is done too. Go ahead and put some butter on this. So here is our homemade bread, sliced. You can add the homemade strawberry jam that we just made. You can add the honey sweet butter that we made the other day, or you can add the homemade butter that we made the other day. For more recipes, please subscribe below. Any questions, comments, please leave them.